I think somewhere यहाँ पे है ना, यहाँ पे रुके थे कहीं.
I think whatever you've highlighted, now we discussed now how because the religions, because of the perfection thing, this should be stepped up. है ना? मतलब one goes from one, in the sense they are not complete in itself, and hence they have to be replaced.
So this has been done. यहाँ से शुरू कर सकते हैं.
Read.
Good.
The attempt to deny or stifle a truth because it is yet obscure in its outward workings and too often represented by obscuranist superstition or a crude faith is itself a kind of obscurantism. The attempt to deny or stifle a truth because it is yet obscure in its outward working and too often represented by obscuranist superstition or a crude faith is itself a kind of obscure. How do you pronounce it according to you? Obscurantism.
Obscure, yeah. Obscurantism लग रहा है.
The will to escape from a cosmic necessity because it is arduous, difficult to justify by immediate tangible results, slow in regulating its operations, must turn out eventually to have been no acceptance of the truth of nature, but a revolt against the secret, mightier will of the Great Mother. The will to escape from a cosmic necessity because it's arduous, difficult to justify by immediate tangible results, slow in regulating its operations, must turn out eventually to have been no acceptance of the truth of nature, but a revolt against the secret, mightier will of the Great Mother. It is better and more rational to accept what she will not allow us as a race to reject and lift it from the sphere of blind instinct, obscure intuition, and random aspiration into the light of reason and an instructed and consciously self-guiding way.
So I think ये वही in continuation with the last जो हमने discuss किया था उसी के साथ चल रहा है. Yeah, so here we were na, attempts are sometimes made to have done finally with the questionings which have so often been declared insoluble. So when I can't reach a solution of maybe the puzzle of human existence, why to kind of discuss or question it, just keep on living the life as it is. So here we were here, and then we came to this one. I think this was very important. Mankind returns from them with a more vehement impulse of inquiry or a more violent hunger for an immediate solution. Yeah. And if that restlessness is there, that I want to maybe self-exceed myself, but I'm not able to, by that hunger, mysticism profits and new religions arise because everybody is looking for a relief. So what to do, kahin to chan mile. Yeah. But then, yes, let's just have an overlap here also. Thank you, ki continuation hai na. By that hunger, mysticism profits and new religions arise to replace the old, that have been destroyed or stripped of significance by a skepticism which itself could not satisfy. So the skepticism could not satisfy the questionings and all that, the puzzle. So going to that, new religions, new mysticism comes up. Although its business was inquiry, it was unwilling sufficient to inquire. By a skepticism. Doubt हो गया ना? Doubt. Yeah.
As in, it was a means to an end, right? The purpose of it was to question, to reflect, to inquire, but it does not sufficiently inquire, right? It gets set in its ways of do this, do that. Inquiry is no longer there, right?
Yeah.
It becomes a process and a pattern and a habit, or whatever they say, religious. What is that word?
Dogmatism, religious,
exactly.
So they kind of really become very narrow and fixed. Yesterday only, I was discussing with a relative we met, So she was just talking about that when I am with somebody, then she's into now spirituality, following Sai Baba or some other people. We also followed Sai Baba for a long time. And when somebody asked, do you follow Sai Baba? Somehow I could not say no, because when all is one, so how can I say that I don't anyway? So she said that when I'm with people who are talking here and there, and I know that I don't want to be there, whatever they are talking about, I feel that inside there are things coming up, but I don't kind of put it in front, like I don't share it with them. So she was discussing about that, and I shared with her that I feel personally that if in any scenario I find myself constricted and limited, then I'm not with truth. Because Sri Aurobindo says that truth is so wide and so vast and mind has to be so supple. So if I am with people and I'm not able, अंदर mind चले जा रहा है, अंदर ऐसा नहीं कि अंदर चक्की रुकी हुई है, and ऊपर से I'm not able to express, it must be because I have judgments and opinions about those people that पता नहीं मेरी बात को सुनेंगे कि नहीं, या यहाँ पे बात करने का क्या फायदा. So the same that I am thinking of other people is actually going on inside myself. It's not that I may feel that I'm more spiritual or simple or whatever, but the game is not really changed. So just this dogmatism that, beginning to think that we are more spiritual and this is where spiritualism ends and this is where it begins, I think that really restricts, because then that's what I was asking her, that do you feel expanded when you are in that state, or do you feel constricted? So if you are expanded, if you're more open, more giving, generous, whatever, then you are with truth, one of the indicators. And if I'm very constricted, narrow, limited, then I am maybe not with truth. So this came to me when, this one, not willing to sufficiently inquire. So at that moment, I could say that she was not questioning the fact that I can also become dogmatic. It's not only other people. And this is, I think, very important to continually question our own status of being, rather than to become settled there कि मेरा तो हो गया, अब दूसरों का कब होगा? There we really lose it.
Then here, I think, like you said, it's a continuation, that the attempt to deny a truth because it seems obscure, right, in the outward working, is also a kind of obscure, of obscurantism. Like we feel, it's like, again, because of the tunnel vision, we feel we are actually doing something which is intelligent, right? Like, don't have blind faith, don't just believe in things because without logic. And yet that in itself, which it's doing, is the negative, the opposite of what we are planning to do, wanting to do.
Actually, this word also, I think it's a very, I've read it for the first time, you know, obscurantist superstition. So first of all, a superstition, and then obscurantist, which is obscuring something, you know. So this is very interesting that one is hiding something through not sufficiently inquiring, and hence landing into that superstition.
And just look at the paradox that you hear it often, right? Like people are stupid, they follow people blindly. And I am not that, I will never be that. I am rational. And here it's saying the opposite, right? That if you are actually kind of standing against faith, you are being kind of the opposite. Like you are the one who's not following logic, kind of a thing.
Or ultimately, ये पढ़ के, and then he comes here. Yeah, this one. I think we reason, mother says, na, reason should be abandoned only when the reign of psychic is there, not before that. So ये नहीं कह सकते कि मेरा हो गया, मेरा psychic शुरू हो गया और I am abandoning reason. That cannot happen. Otherwise, that's what leads to troubles. So here he now kind of opens up into a resolution that obscure intuition and random aspiration into the light of reason and instructed and consciously self-guiding will. So that is kind of a light that is there in this crude faith and superstition, which is to be looked for and not abandoned. You know? But again, वो जो था ना, you remember that Upanishad Ganga mein, there was this story where this fellow, can't remember his name now, who was too much into Tark Vitark. You had shared with me, na? So he's now married and goes to his guru, doing a lot of Tark Vitark with all this, spiritual masters here and there. So he becomes very arrogant that I'm able to do so much. So there, it also tells that Tark Vitark takes you so far, and then that also has to let go, and then he almost becomes like an animal living on a field. That he has to let go of his kind of identity that is developed around the Tark Vitark, because then it is feeding on its ego. He's feeding on his ego. Yeah. So then here it seems to me that he says that if there is something in front of me which appears difficult to question or difficult to go through, as if there is a wall I can't go through, the will to escape from a cosmic necessity because it's arduous, difficult to justify by immediate tangible results. मतलब अभी कोई result नहीं मिल रहा, so like I'm going through, still a wall. So immediate result is a wall still. Like mother says that for many days, if an egg is developing, you don't see any visible result or a change, but only then after some time it cracks open. So difficult to justify by immediate tangible results. No further conclusion is developing. Slow in regulating its operations. If I am escaping from this labor, which is required of me, must turn out eventually to have been no acceptance of the truth of nature, but a revolt against the secret, mightier will of the Great Mother. So this we read in Savitri. I feel this is where it's hinting at that nature in itself, in its blind movements, is hiding a greater truth, which has to be found out. So nature appears to be mechanical and repetitive in its movements, but that's not it. There is more to it. So that's mightier will of the Great Mother, nature. So it means that I'm just not able to accept that there is light in this darkness, for example, that appears to me at this moment. So here must turn out eventually to have been no acceptance of truth of nature, but a revolt against the secret, mightier will of the great Mother. So that's what is coming to me through these lines.
Yeah, I think all these are just following the same. I mean, at least that's what it appears right now.
So he not only poses a problem, if we go further, he also gives a little bit of light, not little bit, even more greater further light. It is better and more rational to accept what she will not allow us as a race to reject. So भाई ना इसको escape करके तो काम नहीं चलेगा. We'll have to question, we'll have to go deeper and lift it from the sphere of blind instinct. So instead of following dogmatism or obscurantist superstition, to lift it from there to the light of reason, like as if Mother says, na, clipping it up with the forceps and putting it in front of light. Sphere of blind instinct, obscure intuition, and random aspiration into the light of reason and instructed and consciously self-guiding will. So yesterday, the day before yesterday, I was sharing with you this Saint Teresa of Avila, her story. So in that video, that lady who is presenting, she shares that Teresa of Avila was having many, many mystical experiences starting from a very early time. And the good thing was that she also had a very intelligent mind along with a heart of devotion. So she was always questioning her experiences, not really believing into them, and even kind of going to Christian priests for confession, when you go to discuss and whatever. So see, although for ladies, for females, it was not a lovely place to be, but she did not get deterred by it. And she, even there, she said that, I am very, so she was, in a manner it was presented in the talk was that she had to really downplay herself very much since she was a lady, and it was too weird for her to be there and having too much of mystical experiences. So she was downplaying it, that I am not worthy, I am a sinner, but look, this is what is happening. This is what she had to do. But she was then questioning and presenting those experiences so that she does not remain in that blind, obscure superstition. So that was really very powerful. And if we see her teachings, even if we read a couple of lines from her, they have a lot of power and devotion and sincerity, owing to the fact that they are tested also. It's not that she has just bought into something. So we feel that reason, maybe if I put it into the test of reason, I may let go of the experience that I may having. But it appears that if I put it actually, if it is true experience, and if it put to test in front of reason, then it actually gains a lot of power, that, kind of gains a lot of support also. And Mother says that when psychic comes to being, then reason becomes even more powerful because now it is supporting truth. So it gains power by supporting truth. Earlier, it was supporting impulses and emotions, reason. So it was not that powerful and that pure. Yeah.
And from this regard, all the religions basically, sound quite similar in terms of this girl and the boy thing, like how it was discussed about Buddhism in that book. And now, if you look at Christianity, a female pope seems impossible, right? Like, even after so much claim of equality, female Shankaracharya, I don't think happening.
And not only after ये जो पोप वाली है, मतलब so many stories about what has happened in the Vatican or wherever, you know, in all the churches, so much of bad things going on, and even then, yeah, no scene of, yes. I think this must also have to do with how we treat nature. You know, so nature is a feminine energy, you know, and we've always looked down as an ascetic. We always look down upon my tendencies and patterns. Look down upon, even if we look globally at nature, we have made use of it all the time. That's the feminine energy, you know, tendencies, patterns, or the global whatever. And that's the same way we look at females mostly.
That's a good point. And the weakness, right? We think it's weak, we can rule it, right? Like that's one of the things that, you know, when people are discussing about, say, hiring females or something, that weakness aspect that physically not same is often there. Yeah.
And I think for as long as we can, we allow also, not only we in the sense in general, and I think it's for a purpose, because the more we allow, we realize that we cannot allow much suppression. That we reach a stage that no, it's ke aage nahi. So it has to reach that peak of suppression. After that, the kind of blossoming has to come. So kar lo, daba lo jitna dabana hai. Okay, you know, yeah, okay, not much compromise. But then when it gets too much compromised, then you cannot tolerate it. And then kind of a awakening or a resurgence. So how extremes can be important, I think. You know, going to extremes can be, yeah. This last line is also, I find beautiful, that this one, no, an instructed and consciously self-guiding will. So something is awake within. Something is intelligent within, in front of whom I can kind of put it for questioning and reasoning. Something which is neutral, it's not biased. Instructed and consciously self-guiding will.
Yesterday in the study circle, we had briefly discussed about difference between demand and aspiration. And in that also, you know, again, the self-arising nature, the self-giving nature of aspiration was discussed. So again, you know, how it was worded so beautifully that it's not something that you are making up. It's not a, you know, very thoughtful thing that, okay, this is what I will aspire and this is what I will gain from it. Like it's, you know, just a light that lights from within, and that's mostly self-giving. Again, there's a touch of that in this. Yeah.
And that day, I don't know where, I was also reading about demand and aspiration. Maybe it was in psychic education. We were exactly talking about this. So there also it was coming that aspiration is more of a self-giving. While a demand is mujhe de do, you know. And mother says on this that psychic has this devotion. Psychic wants to give itself to the work, or, you know, to truth. While ego always wants for itself, that I want experiences, I want, you know. And also this, I see personally this element of restlessness which differentiates both. That aspiration would say, that story by, you know, of these two bhaktas which Alokda shares.
Which one?
That they are meditating for a long time. Narad comes and visits them. So they say to Narad that, okay, can you tell us that When will we be awakened?
Okay.
So to one, he says after 3 times, 3 lifetimes. To the other, he says, okay, 10 lifetimes. So the one who is saying, who he says 3 lifetimes, he says, oh my God, 3 lifetimes. So what am I doing here? Let me go and rather have something else. And the other one is so happy that, wow, in 10 lifetimes, the Lord will come, So that is aspiration, that no matter how much time it takes, it will happen, that divine certitude. That's aspiration. So there is a kind of, I feel in myself also, I saw that when I'm moved by vital and demands and expectations, there's so much of restlessness which is so disturbing. I think that's what causes suffering when I give into that. And an aspiration is, you may have love, you may have devotion, but it's also ready to wait, that. And it also is open to ideas in the sense that, okay, it may not come out in the way I am wanting, and that's okay. So the love is very strong and deep. And I see personally that distinction also that you were sharing, demand and aspiration.
For the second one, I think he had said that as many leaves are there on the tree, like not just 10. And he started dancing with joy
Yeah,
that I will get it one day.
yeah,
It is
yeah,
for sure definite for me. That was so beautiful.
yeah. Almost like a child, very happy. Kabhi to hoga.
Yeah.
And also these children, for example, like Christmas, and how last year also they must have waited for Santa. Okay, nobody turned up, but at least a courier came maybe. And this time also, so Chinmay was putting, I don't know where they got this idea from, for carrots for reindeer. That was so cute. So they not only asked me for carrots, they cut it up in pieces also. Okay, maybe it's too big for the reindeer. And then the seriousness they have it for, the way, for example, Anand was saying that नहीं ऐसे नहीं होता, ऐसे होता है कि वो आता है और वो लेके जाते हैं उसके लिए. So the serious sincerity, and then we had Shirdi Baba's prasad. So he said, okay, let me put that for Santa Claus. So yeah, pretty cute and innocent. Yeah.
And if there is any higher light of illumined intuition or self-revealing truth, which is now in man either obstructed and inoperative or works with intermittent glancings, as if from behind a veil or with occasional displays as of the northern lights in our material skies, then there also we need not fear to aspire. I'll read that again. If there is any higher light of illumined intuition or self-revealing truth, which is now in man either obstructed and inoperative or works with glancings, intermittent glancing, as if from behind a veil, or with occasional displays as of northern lights, like it's there, it's not there in a material skies, then there also we need not fear to aspire. We need not fear to aspire. Like how it's like, कि मैं तो तुच्छ हूँ, मैं कैसे करूँगा ना, kind of like even when you see how far you are, you cannot stop walking. Rather, you need to walk, and it happens the opposite, right? It keeps pulling you back. That how do I walk on this path? And again, while we were discussing about Saint Teresa of Avila, that what was her name? Sorry.
Teresa of Avila.
Yeah. I have been quite close to quite a few people who were devout Christians, like they were like very strict Christians, and it amazed me. They were really kind people, really generous, kind, beautiful people, and for them to be able to believe that we are all sinners and it's all about guilt and how we have to pay a price for what we have done, like somehow the grasp of evil on us, that like I think once you had only shared with me now that if somebody tells you you're bad or you are not doing enough, it's much easier to believe than when you say you are divine, right? Like there's something in me which feels I'm not okay. I think there is some truth in it also because I feel I'm not really working for my ultimate thing and I'm being distracted here and there. And yet this belief to, and Christianity is the a most popular kind of followed religion in the world, and its basis is guilt, right? Islam, the basis is guilt, and there's so many followers. Yes, I've mistaken, and now all my life has to be is to work towards kind of paying for the penance. Like just it amazes me
And I
that
think their basis actually is not guilt, but the way it is
it is
portrayed, है ना,
propagated. Yes, yes,
by the
yes, yes.
religious masters and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
priests and
The
yeah.
what people are buying is guilt.
Mm.
Like,
Because otherwise I'll not be able to puppet them around,
yeah,
only
yeah.
when, and for example, that day somebody was talking about a talk by Dalai Lama,
Mm,
and she was sharing that um, Dalai Lama was hearing to a lady, and the lady was talking about this self unworth,
mm,
this guilt and not feeling
mm,
good about ourselves, buying into that I am evil rather than buying into divine. So she was sharing that Dalai Lama had to hear the question 2-3 times again, because it you were sharing,
No, I wasn't sharing, but
है ना?
I had, yeah, heard
Because
this.
he could not relate with how a person cannot love himself.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
because in Buddhism they have faith in everybody's
mm,
inherent good Buddha's nature.
mm,
So
mm,
everybody is divine, and they, that's why these 6 paramitas, that generosity, compassion, enlightenment, jo bhi, kindness. So the very basis is that since everyone has a genuine Buddha nature, they may not be aware of it. Let me have goodwill towards everybody. And it's amazing that how at a global level, how we could let it spread,
mm,
the thing that you were sharing,
mm,
how blind one can be, that we have let it spread so far that this ideas about Christianity or, for example, other religions in a bad way. It's not that the religion says so, but they're actually not saying that.
mm,
There
mm,
is more depth and meaning to what they are saying, and which is beautiful. Truth is always beautiful, but the way masters kind of want to dominate, and that's why so much of this all this kind of incest in the
mm,
areas of Christianity. Because if
mm,
I do not tell you that you are unworthy, how will be able to tell you that you are a sinner and this is how you will purify your sins?
mm,
And I buy into that because I don't see, as if the fish is always in the water and it just knows the water. It doesn't know that the world exists.
mm.
So I have not seen any other possibility at all. So I allow that incest to happen. Very, very strange and sad also. Yeah.
I think similar with it to our Pandits also, not to the large extent, like
Yeah.
that different.
Yeah.
Mm,
Because if I don't tell you that after doing this, blah, 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 whatever,
mm, mm,
after doing all this, that too done by me,
mm, mm,
only then the soul will go wherever it is supposed to go. How
mm,
will I,
mm,
continue as a, yeah.
mm,
While the very task of Pandit is to put everyone on the right path, and it has become
mm,
obscured. Yes,
mm, mm.
true. Yeah. Mm. I shared with you now when my mother-in-law had passed away. No, not my mother-in-law. Some other relative had passed away during the same time. And we were there talking about some Sanatan Dharma. So there was a Pandit who I got into argument almost with because he was
Mm,
not ready to just listen anything, anti or whatever kind of Sanatan Dharma. And, yeah. So it's also very The anger I could see on his face, on a Pandit's face, the anger. It's, yeah, startling, if not shocking.
Mm.
And 2 minutes ago, he's talking about Vaikunt and all that.
Mm.
And after 2 minutes, he's almost ready to spew out anger कि तू मेरे सामने से चली जा, but पता नहीं क्या क्या हो जाए. So that's very interesting. Yeah. And this is us. I'm not just the Pandit, and this is us. Yeah.
That's true. And if there is any higher light of illumined intuition or self-revealing truth, which is now in man either obstructed and inoperative or works with intermittent glancing as if from behind a veil, or with occasional displays as of northern lights in our material skies, then there also we need not to fear to aspire. This material world here is word here I think is very fitting. That even if there is nothing, if there's more artificiality, right? Like no I don't know, like material ko opposite kya hoga, like natural or coming from within, right? Like out. Still do not fear to aspire. But it is likely that do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I wanted to share here that mother has always shared, which stays with me, that mother says that if you get a beautiful experience in your life, it may be a glimpse, and rest of the life may be just a mundane life. You may have a glimpse of something in the childhood, for example, or something suddenly happened and you had a beautiful experience. Mother says that not to think that that did not happen, or not to think that that was just like once in a blue, how can that happen? Mother says to cling to it, to relive that experience, because if it has happened once, it can become my life. So I think that really gives us a lot of hope, not to buy into believing that life is a struggle. It will remain a struggle and my life will remain mundane. I do not deserve beauty. What he shares here, that at the moment, I may not be operating fully from the illumined intuition, but I have been intuitive. Haven't we all been kind of intuitive so many times? For example, having these telepathic uh, connections with people. Maybe you had a thought of somebody and the somebody arrived, or maybe you had a great idea which worked out itself, or you got an intuition, you worked out on that intuition, and it really came out true that you better believe that intuition, and it worked out beautifully. So, and it has all happened with us. That example that I share, that person in the Vatican City who I had to find, and thousands of people, and I knew that I would find, and I found him. So it may be one odd experience, but it was an experience. I cannot kind of completely deny it. To know that such beauty is possible in us, and to believe it in that more than to believe in our obscurities, I think that is something which almost needs labor. It needs effort, because by default one may naturally believe into one's unworth. But these glimpses tell us that not only unworth, there is something also worthy, full of truth, full of light. And I personally see that it may depend upon the conditioning of a person, whether he believes more into his worth or more into his unworth. I personally feel that that can be the case. क्योंकि काफी बार होता है मेरी conditioning ऐसी है that I've somehow always believed in my worth, है ना? So then again that has to be balanced, because then it's also good to important to look at the weaknesses, the uglinesses, so that they can also be purified. Parallelly, if I buy too much into my unworth, then I would always get dipped into this guilt and shame, and I'm not worthy, and other people are more beautiful. No, I'm not worthy of beauty. You may be talented, I'm not that talented. So I think there we need a little bit of kind of balance also. So to believe in that beauty that we have seen once in us, to relive it again and again, and to make it our life. So if northern lights can happen once, it means that there is a beauty lurking around the corner, waiting to shine like northern lights. Only if I give it a chance. And this is, sorry, please.
नहीं, आप complete करो.
नहीं, आप करो, मैं तो just adding on. बोलो.
I think once somebody had asked mother that why can't I be with you all the time? Something like this. And she asked the question back that, why can't you? Like, kind of. And she said that if you have even felt me once, like, felt wasn't the right word, but again, if you've been with me even for one moment, you are capable of being with me every moment. So the word capable, right? Like, I am capable, and yet I just wait for special circumstances, mostly hard things, to be with her, right? So then it was basically like, it's your choice, right? Like, you are choosing not to be with me because you can keep holding on to that and be with me throughout. That was quite.
And that day you were also sharing something now, on which I was sharing, then miracle comes a common way. Sri Aurobindo talks in Savitri. So why can't it become the common way? Why do I have to compromise on beauty in my life just to think that this is how my life is, and it has been like this for centuries, and how can I change it?
Yeah.
And I think that people think that that requires a lot of courage. From a outside person's point of view, one may. So, for example, if you are living a life of beauty and I'm enamored by it, I would say, oh my God, that requires a lot of courage. But for you, it's effortless because you can't live any other way but for this way. Once you have tasted that beauty and you have that urge in you to live that beauty out, then you don't need courage actually. In fact, you would need more courage to live the other way. Okay, oh my God, how can you live suffocated now that you know that beauty is possible?
Yeah.
So matlab, we don't have to fear to aspire. We can always, he's saying, then also, even if there are glimpses, then also we need not fear to aspire. So the aspiration has to be there for self-exceeding and for having a more and more beautiful life.
Just one thing.
Yeah.
Like you shared that Vatican example, right? Like, there are small things. I mean, I don't want to call them small. There are things that happen which are less traumatic than physical happenings, right? Okay, I don't walk on water, but when I look at my life, I see it is one miracle leading to the other, right? But because I'm not walking on water physically, sometimes, again, confessing, I ask, show me the way, show me you are there. और क्या करें, है ना? मतलब how ungrateful again it is to not give it the recognition it deserves, the faith. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि baseless faith है, blind faith है ना? But because इतना concrete मैं black and white में लिख नहीं सकती हूँ कि because they're always okay, ऐसे ही मिल गया होगा, ऐसे ही हो गया होगा, that chance element is there. So I don't regard the miracle as a miracle, and I often classify it as a chance, especially when a little time has passed. Because honestly, when it happens, you feel that joy, that knowing that, oh wow, see, mother did it again, And yet when it time passes, you kind of lose the importance of the miracle and just declare it a chant. So again, इसमें मेरा कितना वो है कि I'm not giving it the attention, the honor, the love that I can get from that. Kisi, I'm so beautifully being taken care of.
And this, I think somehow we feel we need the, as you were sharing, na, the dramatic, because the slumber is deep. I am swimming in grace and I don't know it.
Yeah, like a Krishna walking next to me does not help me. I need to see that, full thing, that how he is more than me.
Yeah.
It's just a realization that he is more doesn't cut it for me. And once, I think it was in Akhandanandji that mystic, he had said that there's no one who is not touched by these miracles, but we disregard them. And we think this is real and that isn't. And he said the journey begins when you give it at least the equal importance that is as true as this. And because something in me keeps denying, because it feels occult, it feels weird. And then I say, oh, probably it didn't happen.
It's almost like, imagine that a blue sky and dark clouds. So when I'm used to the dark clouds and a patch of blue sky appears, okay, by chance may have happened, but my life is the dark sky. And slowly, as I see that, no, my life is the blue sky. And I've been allowing the darkness just to be, not really believing, as you were saying, not really believing in the presence of blue sky on which the dark clouds are actually appearing.
In this example, I can also say that maybe the blue patch was an illusion.
Also, maybe a blue patch was a patch, like a...
it wasn't the reality.
Yeah. It will also come and go. And that's how we see these experiences. Absolutely. That was also a patch, just like dark things was. So dark is my reality and the blue was just a patch. That cannot be my life. Yeah. That was really nice. And this, that day, I think that you should watch that webinar. It was a nice webinar. I was sharing now with Disease to Greater Iswala. So in that, there was this lady who underwent a shattering, physical shattering, actually, very deep accident. And she underwent an NDE experience. And her experience was being enveloped with light, like love in that state, which I'm sure you would resonate with. Not love, but similar, that stillness and kind of that you are still there. It's not that you're gone, you are there. So to experience yourself as something different or more than the body, that's what she experienced. And then how from that life-shattering experience or physically shattering experience, when her body was immobilized completely, she listened to, or she got an instruction to, as if somebody is saying that she is able to see the messengers in the brain, the chemical messengers in the brain. And she got the guidance to, okay, you send these out to the legs, send these out to the legs. And that's what she did. So she got in touch with the cellular matter, if one can say, of the body, because she had this experience of being consciousness herself. So she was able to get in touch with that consciousness, which is there present in the cells, to send them out to the body where they were needed. And the movement in her limbs gradually started. True story, again, not only Anita Moorjani, many of us, including her. And she was sharing her experience, which was, I completely resonated with whatever, she was talking about. And even at one point of time, I was sharing earlier with you once, because once in a meditative state when I was diagnosed with cancer, I exactly had a similar experience, that as if I'm dipped in grace, we all are dipped in grace. And this experience of cancer is making me porous so that I can kind of, have that moisture. So that thing that you were sharing, that we become a wall again and again, this concretization of the egoistic personality comes. We don't get to know, but it gets done. And how we don't get to know is because we stop questioning ourselves. है ना, वही जो डॉगमेटिज्म वाली बात हो रही थी कि उसको मान लिया और बस उसके साथ चिपक गए. दिस इज मी एंड दिस इज हाउ माय लाइफ इज. It cannot be otherwise. And this is what I cling to as self-image or image of my own life. And that's what creates a wall between grace and me, which, as you were sharing, that just to see intangibly that it is always present. And Kabir maybe is hinting at that when he's saying राम नाम की लूट है, लूट सके तो लूट. तो वन के नाज भैया कहाँ लूट है, मेरे को तो नहीं दिख रहा. As you were saying कि ड्रामेटिक एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है, तो ऐसा नहीं कि हो नहीं रहा, हो रहा है, but I am not available to.
One more thing is coming to me. I've read some experiences of people who have had NDEs, like random here and there. A lot of them were saying that, and I resonate with that too, that especially when things get a bit tough there, it's like, oh, it was so much better there. Why did, it's like, again, that peace, the immensity of that peace or love or joy was so great. But the catch is that I've never till now, like while talking, felt that I can have that here too, right? Like if I've experienced it, that means it exists. And the fact that I think that it can exist just there is again my dogmatism, right? That it cannot exist here. And I have to leave to be there. But rather I was shown that this is my possibility to be enveloped in peace.
Absolutely.
But
Yes.
for me, I left it there, and now this is the hard world, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And it's maybe that's what's shown, right? You have to make that thing here.
Absolutely.
But I don't see that in a lot of things that I read. Why did I have to come back? Why, that's a lot of things that I've read. Right.
I think Anita Murjani also talks about exactly this, that what if this is heaven?
Yeah.
So once she had, this is one of the books, she wrote. So once she had that glimpse that who she truly is, that true essence of consciousness, when she touched, because we are not able to touch owing to the layers of obscurity, so many thoughts clouding, so many feelings clouding. And that's what, again, Kabir, sorry to quote him again. So he says that हृदय माही आरसी मुख देखा नहीं जाए, मुख तो तभी देखिए जब दिल की दुविधा जाए. So this layer of obscurity owing to which I'm not able to see who I truly am, this consciousness aspect which is revealed to those people who are in NDE, for you also, it was this experience, and to make that my reality while I am in the body. I think that's the challenge. So that's what she shares. What if this is heaven? Because there is no other, there may be realms, but it's not that it's only possible for me there. The challenge is to live as that consciousness while I have this body, so that the thoughts, feelings, and whatever ideas also have reflection of that love, that joy, that peace. I think that's our challenge, and especially for those of us who have been given a glimpse, like a very strong glimpse. I think almost becomes, not to say in a like a strong sense, but it's a responsibility, I believe, that if one has been shown once, and even when after being shown once so strongly, I keep on negating it, living a menial life, I think that's not what I deserve. Yeah. And I think that was your experience. That's how you came to living light, this word living light, because you experience that lightness, that oh wow, that there is a burden free thing possible. Hmm? And for that I have to be, that's what she also was sharing, that for that I have to be questioning all the time, that okay, am I taking up the burden again? So again and again questioning anything that makes you uneasy, or not to just take it like that कि भाई सब करते हैं तो मैं भी करूं. And very stubbornly, if one can say, to be very stubborn about being light and simple. We are stubborn for wrong reasons, but yeah.
Because somehow there's a misconception that for light or love or peace, I will not have to fight. It feels it will be a natural descent. Okay, one day I'll wake up with white robes and, like the angelic music. I don't have to, and that's a wrong preconception. The more I have to, I have to fight really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a labor, absolutely. It's a labor. Kabir, in every doha, almost every second doha, he would talk about this labor of being, when he talks about this lady on the rope who is dancing also, but has parallel consciousness of the rope. And that rope is my knowing of myself as this true consciousness. That's the parallel consciousness I have to be living with, along with dancing in the world. Because if I lose sense of that awareness, that consciousness, then I fall, and I fall into the trap of ego, and I hurt myself, I suffer. So that's my signal that, oh my God, I lost that awareness of me being the consciousness again. And mother talks about this parallel consciousness also.
Yeah. And this example that you just shared about the lady on the road, there's something in me, someone who so does not want to work hard, because that lady, how many hours of practice must have gone into developing that parallel consciousness, right? But when I look at people performing those things, like for example in this thing, I just feel that, oh, they are different, right? Like she has a special skill, so she can do it. It's not that I see that because I don't work hard. I mean, if I do, I can also walk on the rope. But that's not how I usually take it, right? I make it a one-off. That what I am doing is collective and with nature, natural. Because how many of us can walk on the rope, right? But the joy she has walking on the rope, I can never touch, because I don't want to put in
labor. Yeah.
The labor. Yeah.
और मुझे लगता है कि there is also a joy in labor. Mother says there is effort brings joy. Mother says
again and again
and again. Yeah. So if for the moment I'm not finding joy in that effort on the rope that I want to put, which I may see other people putting, and I don't want to be there, I find joy somewhere else, I think better to put that effort there, wherever you are finding joy. I think Rupert Spira also, mentioned this at one point of time in his talks, that somebody was asking that it seems to be labor, almost like this kind of question, that it's effort to be effortless. So he says, put that effort. And then somebody asked that, but putting effort doesn't sound like really it. And he says that if you are finding not joy in putting in that effort, then don't put it. You put the joy wherever you find effort. तो अगर अभी तुम्हारी बारी नहीं आई है यहाँ एफर्ट पुट करने की, wherever at the moment you are finding joy, you be there. So see, mother talks about divine certitude. So ultimately, whatever, we have to all reach our destinies, which is finding our true self. But if for the moment I am not finding joy in this effort, I must be finding joy in something else. So follow that. And even that would lead me somewhere someday to whatever is right. Yeah. So this element of joy is very beautiful, because even when we see musicians, I was talking to a person who is a guitarist, and he said that when I was playing really, when I was really practicing learning this, now he's quite an adept, but he says that I lost on many friends because I was so many hours of practice I was doing, hours and hours of guitar. My fingers would almost bleed, so much I was practicing. But then he was getting the joy out of, and for that he was okay to lose friends also. So if a lady is walking on the rope, it is not possible that she is not having that joy. So to follow that delight, since the universe is based on delight, that would lead me further. Yeah.
For it is likely that such is the next higher state of consciousness, of which mind is only a form and veil, and through the splendors of that light may lie the path of a progressive self enlargement into whatever highest state is humanity's ultimate resting place. I'll read that again. For it is likely that such is the next higher state of consciousness, of which mind is only a form and veil, and through the splendors of that light may lie the path of our progressive self enlargement into whatever highest state is humanity's ultimate resting place.
Hmm. So those lights I may see only in glimpse, that is actually a higher state possible, of which I am getting a glimpse. It's not that that's out of blue or whatever, but whenever I am more porous, I get that glimpse. Whenever I'm less of a wall, I get that glimpse. Or it is likely that such is the next higher state of consciousness. And Sri Aurobindo talks about that, and he talks about when we rise above the ordinary conceptual limited mind. He talks about the gradations possible for us, which is one of this is illumined intuition. Here he talks about this. So it's not that I'll be intuitive once in a year, but I'll be living intuitively. That I trust my guidance. I think that's so beautiful, and that's the way many indigenous people have been living, tribals, and they have been living on already this state of consciousness. Many stories about these people already having insights, intuitions into, for example, if somebody is diseased, so they would exactly know where is the disease coming from. They have that intuition, and that's where they would work with energy, shamanic healing, or whatever. So it's not that this is happening for the first time. It has been happening. Higher state of consciousness, of which mind is only a form and a veil. It's like one parda, one jhilli, that is. And through the splendors of that light may lie the path. So if I follow those splendors of light that I see only in glimpses at the moment, may lie the path of our progressive self-enlargement. So this widening and expansion and becoming more than what I truly am today, into whatever highest state is humanity's ultimate resting place. How beautiful. So as if this is a destiny of each one of us, this higher glimpse that we get once in a while. Yeah.
And this is very striking that mind is only a form and a veil. But how I think it's the ultimate, and that's the one that I'm depending on, right? Like it will take me out. And that is actually a paradox, because that is the one that's holding me back. I think again and again, it's like, how one needs to not stick to anything, like when you were also sharing about, like my own perceptions and images and how, because I'm like right now, if I think, okay, I've had bad thoughts, I stick to those bad thoughts. I don't let them pass. I become that, right? Like, and I don't momentarily become, I give it my identity. If I'm feeling something nice, it's also passing. If I'm feeling something bad, that's also passing. I don't, but what a problem is, I stick, right? I sit on it. And that sticking. The mind also makes me stick, right? It forms notions and stuff and says, this is it, this is it. And this is what Sri Aurobindo, I think, is saying here since if it at least started today, right? That don't stop the questioning, right? Don't stop the, like again, that cloud example, the sky that you give, nothing can stick, right? That's the beauty of the sky. It is different. Maybe I can't see it every day, but it is. It can never be the same sky. And yet I, in my limitedness, wants to defy too many black patches, one blue patch, and this is the sun, this is how it walks. Like I want to.
And when you were talking of sticking, the image of a brick wall being created with cement came to me. Cement is a glue, and this is how I become a wall while I'm swimming in grace, but I don't touch it because I'm sticking and making a wall around me. There was something that was coming to me at this. This also this image of when he says that this is humanity's ultimate resting place. I remember that the first time I went to Ramana Maharishi's ashram. So there was this bus, very local bus that I was sitting in, and it was going and going. And every little hill I would see, I would think that's the Tiruvannamalai mountain or whatever hill. And that was not it. That was not it. So the kind of, so this glimpse was coming that as if I'm going towards this mountainous region and there are clouds and things coming on the way. And then in the moment I see a little shine on the snow somewhere in the mountains, and that disappears. Then fog comes again, but then it comes again. And so it seems that we are all moving towards that ultimate resting place, which gives thankfully, gracefully, it gives glimpses, and we have those little bites of those experiences. But only to have faith that that's not only a glimpse, but my possibility. That is my certitude. That is going to happen. But it is not going to happen just by sitting. I mean, it may happen ultimately through centuries and lifetimes, but as Mother says, that collaboration is required. Otherwise, yeah. So, and the collaboration I see in this sense as we are talking today is that once I see that glimpse, to make it my reality, to work for it, to put labor for it, and also to find joy in that labor. So ultimate resting place pe rest. Let's give it a pause. Or anything more to add?